G'day and welcome to Randogs. So this game, Sundogs, obviously is the actual name, is a game that I saw mentioned on Twitter by Hannah Flynn of Failbetter Games, and I thought I'd check it out. It turns out that the developers were kind enough to hand me a key when I asked for one, and so here it is. It's a text-based science fiction adventure, and I'm totally into that. So we're going to start, of course, by providing a moniker. Sol. Humanity has spread across the system. Where we could not bend the system to our will, we changed our bodies to suit it. We are no longer born and do not die. Identity became fluid, flesh became alien. We are something beyond human. It still kind of bugs me that you don't seem to use caps at all. Okay. Your eyes snap open as you feel the cold air rush of air fill your lungs. The revival facilities lit dimly do not surprise you. A doctor presses a metallic hand to your shoulder, keeping you still. How much do you remember? Nothing. Tutorial. Welcome to Sundogs. On the left of the screen is your inventory, a collection of skills you know, your body and its modifications, and any items you carry. On the right of your screen are your actions. Use these to interact with the world and the text within it. To move around in the world, click on a planet that is connected to the one you're orbiting, or on another location orbiting nearby. Use the scroll wheel on your mouse to zoom in and out. Your progress is automatically saved. So I have in my mind the ability to bargain, diplomacy, and protocol. My body has a cortical stack and sleeve, which is, I assume, the body based on other stuff I've seen. Yep. Let us begin. You get a wire from one of your algorithms. There's consistent talk of a new species in lower Venusian atmosphere. If you're passing through Avicenna, you could go look at it yourself. Continue. So we're on the elevator around Mars. This is Phobos, Olympus, Organelle, and Deimos. I can look at info. A stationary orbital platform connected to the Martian surface below. The elevator was built and maintained by the dozens of primary groups of corporations that operate in the region. A trip to or from the surface only takes about an hour, and the entire system moves thousands of people and cargo daily. Okay. Missions. Investigate new animal species, right? Explore. Upload is... you cannot copy your cortical stack here for preservation. Currently only Avicenna on Venus, Anguirro above Luna, Olympus on Mars, or Station 1 on Ceres have facilities to do this. Wait, wasn't? Oh no, it's Organelle. Where's... Right, so I want to go to Venus, so we'll zoom out. There's Jupiter. The circular orbits, not accurate, of course, but I guess it does the trick. We want to go Venus, and this is where I demonstrate my own lack of knowledge. Right, this is showing various things tied to Mars. There's Venus. I can't go straight to Venus because it's not close enough. I can go to Earth, though. Let's go to Earth. Earth, 42 days. Alright. Info. Perhaps the most dangerous orbital region in the system. Earth's orbit is filled with centuries of humanity left to decay. Still got the Venus thing. Explore. Passing closer, near a harvester. You get a warning ping telling you it will defend itself. You ignore it and let it drift by. Okay. And so here we go. We've got debris fields. We have ocean, land, and we could go to the moon. Let's go to the ocean. Alright, we were in the debris field. And we kind of orbit down. That's an interesting touch. Okay, let's explore. You find a village near the shore. The structures are fashioned out of old sheets of hydrophobic materials into bubbles surrounding a large fabricator in the center. It does not look abandoned, but you don't see any activity. Wait! You wait a few hours, high above the village. You see a few people come out of the bubbles, but only briefly. At this latitude, the sun is hot and bright for much of the day. After a time, you leave. Okay, let's go to land. It's a really minimalist art style, isn't it? Let's explore the land. At noon along the equator, the sky darkens slightly as the solar shields pass in front of the rotating Earth. The shade drops the temperature slightly, but it will pass in a few moments. Okay. So you just kind of get this vignette of the area. I was hoping for something a little more interactive, I gotta say. Let's head to Venus. Venus, 79 days. So here's the traffic layer. And there's where we can back up. Explore. You almost see a collision of two large yachts in low orbit. One manages to pull away before both are destroyed. Okay, let's go to Avicenna. It's cute, but it does make like moving between orbits a lot more time consuming. Explore. You find a pilot to take you deep into the cloud layer. It is unusual to travel in such solid craft, but the Venusian atmosphere is unforgiving. You monitor some view screens that are scanning wide EM bands. After a while, you get a return blip, motion in the distance. You move over closer to it, and an image resolves of a huge, swirling mass of tendrils moving around a central body in a convection pattern. It's moving quite slowly, and you can't see how it gains energy. You briefly consider bringing one back to the surface, but it's far too massive for this single craft. You document it as much as you can and return back to the surface. That was our mission, I think. Yeah, now we need to take it to the library on Vesta. We can upload. You store your mines at the facility here. If you die, a new body will be provided to you here. I'm going to see what this 30L is. You find an interesting shop selling plants and trade some news for a carnivorous plant. You'll have to fab some generic food stuff for it, but it should be an interesting distraction. Sure, now we have a Venus flytrap. Of course. How did I not see that one coming? Let's explore the traffic layer again. See if we get a different vignette. A large pleasure yacht drifts by you. It's shaped like a bullet with a shiny hull and an entourage of smaller craft near it. Centrifuge row. Take a few days to repair your pod, mostly routine internal maintenance. The outer shell is scarred from micrometeor impacts, but could just safely sustain more. Info. A Rosetta-class orbital, it's one of the oldest structures in Earth lunar space. Centrifuge RO, or R0, is the primary industrial and receiving facility for Venusian space. It can house several million humans, slaves, and AI. It is also one of the largest constructs in the inner system. However, on average, only 1/3 of it is inhabited. Okay. And I've got animal handling now. I didn't notice that. What happens if I do this? Alright, this is just things that could come up in conversations and things. What happens if I... Yeah, that just tells me about it. And that doesn't change. It's not that I had info chosen. Vesta. Where the heck is Vesta? Let's go to Mercury. See if it's in the inner or outer direction. Mercury. 37 days. Lighthouse. Previously known as the Trans-Solar Holdings Orbital M141 Voynich class, the Lighthouse is an independent state that controls the majority of the mass drivers and solar shields of Mercury orbit. It's become the center of Mercurian activities. You talk with a digital who's been stuck on the local net here for decades. With no ability to spare a sleeve, they carved out a huge portion of the net and began recreating European palaces. There's nothing you can do for them, so you leave. Okay, so, biggest question is, where the hell is Vesta? I probably should be able to figure this out. Vesta... I know, I mean, it's a Roman name, but I mean all the planets have Roman names, so let's go back out one by one, since you go from planet to planet. Ocean, land, debris fields. You do not have it either. So, zoom out again. Mars and Eros. Let's go with Mars. Is Vesta on Mars? I mean, it has Olympus. Phobos or Ganel. I didn't remember it. Deimos. Nope. You can try Eros or Aegea Palace. Oh, there's Vesta. Vesta, 141 days. Vesta has snowman. Let's grab some info on this. For a long time, Vesta was isolated. Only obvious heat emissions and other signs of activity gave off any form of life. Memory of its initial colonization had slipped away, and no one knows who or what controls it now. Okay, explore. Arriving at the library, you signal for a librarian. It comes scuttling over, thin metallic legs grasping tiny handholds along the floor. You transfer the data of the new Venusian animals in the atmosphere and watch it consume it greedily. The librarian moves off, and you watch it wrap itself around a tower and feed the new data into it. Leave. Do I have any? Nope, no active missions. Info. Already saw that. Explore. Librarians pull out a long, thin strand from a short tower, their legs folding apart, the soft abdomen accepting the strand. When the process is complete, the group pushes off into the space above. Can't preserve here. And this is the map which we could actually... No, you can't. You still actually can't move around on it. Options to change this. I should actually change this to here. There we go. And you can mod this game. This game has full mod controls. So that should make things a little easier to read. Alright, so we're on Vesta right now. Let's just move into Keras. 139 days. Station 1. Explore. You browse the mod markets but can't find anything to your liking. They shift frequently, however, so you can return later. I can save here. Cool. Are there any missions? No. Explore. You're stuck in a cramped hallway. For a moment, some cargo has floated past you. The silver tube is twice your height and fills nearly the entire passage, soon disappears around a gentle curve. You're skimming along the surface and reach a harvester, a big lumbering creature. Giant legs paddle along the rock, leaving a distinct pattern behind it. Disintegrators arranged like teeth around its wide mouth, turning the rock into a slurry that quickly disappears into a gorging stomach. A swarm of drones pick at it, fixing errors and cleaning out any anomalies. Sweet. What are they even trying to get? Large asteroid, one of the original, I assume Chinese or something along those lines. I do not know what that says at all. Had a relatively stable position as a physical and economic midpoint between Jupiter and the inner system. Since the Jovian Civil Wars, its role has also expanded into a defensive staging area for various interested parties. Palace. We could go back to Mars. There's Eros, Vesta, Aegea. Let's go with Palace. 41 days. You watch an ancient antimatter centrifuge emerge from the surface. Huge clouds of dust and rock shoot into the vacuum as the giant ring is eased closer to the interstellar in construction. Originally the long-term headquarters of the Pen Am Civility, Palace later changed through several Martian hypercorps, spending each decade providing one useful function or other. It has always been a more useful location to hide some more damaging or experimental projects of its owners. Yep. Let's explore again. Clones give you a jetpack for use in the microgravity of the living quarters and around the construction of the Interstellar. Let's Yeah, jetpack around. You find large digital storage banks hidden deep in the asteroid, presumably housing what used to be the net of the previous inhabitants. With all of this storage, you presume it was quite large or detailed. Okay, can we get any further out? I would like to get to Jupiter, but I can't seem to. I wonder why. Doesn't really say why. What's in Hygieia? I mean, we got a jetpack now. Oh, we're on Ada. Info! Hygieia is generally the least populated of the large asteroids. It's been long stretches of time completely abandoned. It was for a long time a Jovian outpost, but since the war they've retreated from it. Let's explore it. A Jovian skirmish is uncomfortably close to the station. Even the inhabitants are nervous, until it's clear the separatists run and disappeared towards the Greeks. Which I guess would be what these are. You move your normal sleep processes to an external burner, just in case something interesting happens in the habitat. Okay, interesting. Much of the trading and business is done on the asteroid with cold money, and at the end of the day you have some left over. An untraceable cache of general use currency that's often networked. Here's the communicator, and there's a jetpack, and here's our Venus flytrap. Let's bounce to another planet. Kind of at a loss for what to do without there being further missions cropping up, because that gives me an aim to this exploration. Without that, I'm just like going, this looks interesting. Okay, you're negotiating with a favorable spot on the umbilical network with another craft, a cluster of pods like yours. You convince them that you'll only be there a few days before you vacate. Okay. Let's go to Deimos. Explore. You approach Deimos, but there are no surface lights and no common transmissions being broadcast. You receive an automated beam from an unidentified source, directing you to adjust your trajectory away from the moon. Your pod complies and Mars grows larger in your view. A burst of numbers is transmitted from Deimos. 152518153383349. It repeats itself 3 more times and falls silent. The noise of traffic below you calms a bit near Deimos, but the moon itself is silent. What happened to Deimos? And I guess I need something to actually look into it. Because it's, like, hey, stuff is happening. Okay. Let's go to Olympus, see what's cracking there. The scrapyard far from the city is piled high with heaps of metal waiting to be harvested and repurposed. A mound of air recyclers is here, intricate machines designed to remove carbon out of air. These are incredibly dusty and likely rusted, and likely to be recycled into newer versions of themselves. In the downtown area of the city, you find a church, its dome almost swallowed up by surrounding buildings. The builders have gone to lengths to recreate antique designs. You approach the door, but it stays shut. It's just, the problem here is, this text is interesting, it evokes an interesting world and setting, but without something to look into, what am I meant to get from this? Also, I didn't adjust this picture properly. Sorry, my bad. There we go. I mean, you've still been able to see the text, so I'm just mostly embarrassed. At least it hasn't been unusable. But without that, like, interaction, I just don't really get what I'm meant to go for here. I was hoping I could, like, use skills and things, but there's, like the occasional accept or deny choice. That's it. I'm really kind of disappointed on this. And that mission I had assumed would at least chain into other missions. And it's cool, like, getting to see stuff about this, like this organelle named after one of the organizations that built it. It's a large-scale Dyson cylinder, uncapped, divided in half, each section rotating in opposite directions, giving you stable gravity and different strengths of gravity. Like, that's a pretty cool concept here. But without a reason to look at it, what's the point? Slave clinics here are controlled by the managing sub-corporation of the orbital. So your options available to you are limited. You opt for a small VR link that should be universal for most net systems. The device is smaller than a finger and embedded in your shoulder. And I guess I've got the direct VR link now. But, like, what am I meant to do with it? I can find out a little bit more about it, but that's it. I'm not picking up missions, so there's no real quests or anything. It's just like, what am I meant to do here? What's the point? Like, and I kind of hate, like, that question. I guess the point can be exploring this interesting science fiction world, but exploring should be more than just reading. And there's too much of this, which is just reading, and not enough that is, hey, here is a cool thing. Make a decision, at least. Do you want to deal with cool thing, or do you just want to, know that it is there? Like, I would like to find out more about Deimos, and I guess I can go here, and it's a smaller natural Martian satellite. What happened here is a mystery, and you've never read any information or met anyone. That's not actually that helpful, actually, to find out more about it. Ooh, it's a mystery, which, sure, it's a mystery, great. But what does it mean? So, really kind of disappointed by that. Static burst overloads your senses and your pod view fades to white. Frozen in fear, you feel a silent shockwave pass over you, then suddenly the earth is beneath you, gleaming in the sunlight. Stare. You wake up with a start, grasping for recognition. You realize you're in a survival facility. You remember the date, but your memories are outdated by weeks, perhaps months. A new sleeve feels different. You cannot move with precision yet. An automated feed gets you up to date on major events, but the feeling of disconnect will last a while. Okay, what just happened? Maybe this is things kicking up a bit. But there's no, find out what happened. I mean, technically, I guess I was there. And here's the log. And I can basically go back. Oh, really? No, I can't. The log is actually up till my last save point. So I can't go back. Interesting. But what does it mean? Okay, I got cold money again. This is Hijaya. Whatever. Gunshot. Okay, we got to see someone die, apparently. Cracking sound splits a low murmur of the central chamber, and you recognize a gunshot. You press yourself back against the wall, straining to look back. Another gunshot rings out in a scream. You see a sleeve floating into the central chamber, trailing droplets of blood. Two identical sleeves, one carrying a small pistol, push off to retrieve it. They snap out of the dying person's cortical stack and leave the body to drift into the wall. Alright, what happens if we go back to Earth now? I guess we need to go to Mars. And then we can go to Earth. I want to find out if I can do anything to look into my own disappearance. You're drifting around Earth when suddenly motion and proximity alarms go off. A cold piece of debris nearby has a sudden heat spike and turns to face you. You quickly activate your pod's defense routines. Increase defenses. A ping comes through, but the message is distorted, and before you can do anything else, the two of you drift apart again. Spot a very modern craft orbiting above you. You reach out to touch it, and it doesn't respond. Curious, you go to have a look. Halfway out, it rolls around and you see the weird S of a Schrödinger capsule engraved into the carbon weave. You quickly return to your ship, leaving the prisoners to their fate. Okay. A raw fabricator, this one long out of raw material, but thin strands of fiber still hanging down into the upper atmosphere. No, there's nothing like find out what killed you. Although I guess if you were that curious about what killed you, you would have seen something to begin with. I guess I have... Did I start with wits? I don't think I did. Small village. Land. You lower to a walkway erected between the huts and step out into the sunlight. The villagers are silent as they look at you. You're not the first post-human they've seen. They're not one like you before. As you one approaches you and shows you several scrolls. Each depicts a visual description of molecules, and you recognize some as basic foodstuffs, medicine, and other curiosities, but you understand their meaning. You return to your vessel and request your fabricator produce a usable amount of each substance. You return outside periodically, deliver the villagers their requests. They speak now, excitedly in their language, and seem pleased. A short while later, you depart. Okay. Watch closely. Switching to infrared, you watch the humans secure the village for the evening and stay inside. The eastern sky is a dark cloud formation moving in quickly. Avoid the storm. Let's check out land. Interesting that, nothing is happening on Earth, apparently. Small crater, less than a kilometer long, filled out by a forest. Last threads of land on the surface of the Earth, a scorched and barren surface, not completely inhospitable. Positive! High above the surface, you see a reclamation zone below you, a perfect square of idyllic land, ruthlessly defended by an unknown caretaker. Pass over an old city overgrown by new flora. Several of the skyscrapers have fallen, carving massive channels out of the smaller buildings. A flock of white birds you don't recognize flies past you above a small forest. They seem perfectly at ease with your disruption. You sit down at the mouth of a large cave. Go inside. It's dark inside, and as you turn your light to the ceiling, there are hundreds of bats sleeping peacefully. Yeah, these are interesting images. I just don't get what we're looking at. Let's go to the moon. It doesn't have the same reason for me to care. I don't really feel in control. It feels like here's a set of very short vignettes. Some ships in the flotilla are centuries old, and there's parts of others even older. Ingiero is home to some of the oldest humans in the system. Simply having the luxury of being the longest running habitat in the system, the flotilla itself doesn't have a defined area, but it is a collection of nearby crafts to a main nucleus and has nothing resembling a leader or governing body. Okay. On one of the larger flotilla ships, a grid of panels swivel open. Your infrared sensors flash as the radiator dumps excess heat. I'm like, but no, I didn't want to change. At no point do we have anything that's like, here's another mission. Here's another goal for you. So it's really like, you've got your own goal for you to try and deal with. And self-defined goals can work. I don't get it. It's like, I guess I can try and collect bits. I guess? There are several large churches in the center of the capital, and likely dozens smaller ones in the outskirts. The large ones and most of the small ones have the same centralized religion here on Luna. But others are tolerated and sometimes welcomed. Imbrium is the heart of Luna, and also of the larger Earth-Luna system. The seat of political power, the Luna Transit Authority governs most of the jurisdiction of the region. The substation itself is also home to a wide variety of other activities, including extensive farming and shipping facilities, and the hub of the Transluna rail networks. The city encompasses a small crater which has been capped and protected from solar radiation. The protection captures and disperses most light, so you can't see inside. See, these are interesting descriptions, they're interesting ideas being expressed, but I don't care. I just don't have a reason to care. I guess in this system, you should be finding your own goals. You should be coming to your own conclusions. And you should be driven, ideally, to explore, because there's a certain air of mystery, there's world building happening in front of you. But I don't have a reason to explore the world. I'm not motivated enough by these small text snippets to explore this world. I'm sorry, but I'm not. And as long as this is what I've got, I'm just not gonna bother. Which is a pity, because I really was quite interested in this game. I was hoping for something just with a little bit more direction. Like, for example, Fallen London. You start off and you select a big overarching goal that literally you cannot complete yet. But then there are actions you can take which move you towards that goal. But also, just, hey, here's some things you can do. And you kind of go through them. And some of them are repeatable, some of them are individual, one-shot kind of experiences. But here, when I explore, I have no idea what I'm going to get. Sometimes it's interesting things. There's no like, okay, you want to find out about, I don't know. You want to find out about religion, you should go to the moon. And you should go and talk to the moon people about religion. You started off with a mission. Mission gave you, like, here's a thing to go and do and explore. Why am I not picking up missions fairly frequently when I explore, especially when I don't have an active mission? Why is there not some way of chaining things together that is clear to me? Like, I have cold money. Why don't I go somewhere where cold money would be useful for me to spend? Would I see something interesting there? I don't even know what I can do with cold money. I don't know what this encrypted data could be used for. Maybe, I guess, it could be used over on Deimos. Maybe if I go there, something different might happen when I explore. But how am I going to know this? There's no clues and there's no feedback. Right? It's not like, hey, do you want to put together some kind of mission to go and explore Deimos? You need to get yourself a stealth ship. You need to find stealth materials. You need to find out where you can get stealth materials. I don't know how to put together a goal for myself that is more than aimless wandering, and I'm not that into aimless wandering. So I'm kind of disappointed, and I have ranted on this now for a good 5 minutes or so. So until next time, this has been Ranneko Plays. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please, like, subscribe. These are all useful things for me. But most importantly, have a great day. Bye.